Some places forget. Illinois doesn't. It builds over what should have stayed buried, then pretends it can't hear it anymore. A hospital that remembers names you haven't said. A church where the hymns play backwards. A tunnel with no door, but rules. And a lake that gives the body back. Wrong. These aren't ghost stories, they're real places, and they're still listening. Lock your doors, put on your headphones, and pull the blanket up tight, because after this video, you'll never hear Illinois the same way again.
Hello?
Manteno Asylum, the names no one wrote down. Some buildings were never meant to be emptied, and some names were never meant to be remembered. 50 miles south of Chicago, tucked between cornfields and cracked highways, the ruins of the Manteno State Hospital still breathe under layers of dust and silence. At its peak in the 1940s, over 8,000 patients filled its endless halls. Tunnels connected every building. Some stretched for miles beneath the ground. Some, according to former staff, were never on any map. Officially, the hospital shut down in the 1980s. Unofficially, it never fully emptied. Manteno wasn't a hospital. It was a city. It had its own police, fire department, post office, and deeper than all that, beneath the administrative wings and sealed elevators, was a level no one spoke about. Patients with no visitors, no charts, no dates of admission, just names. And some of those names you already know. In 2007, a local historian researching state hospital records found something strange. A list of over 300 patients who died during the 1950s. Dates, ages, causes of death, but no names, only dashes. Every entry handwritten in the same ink. He filed a public records request. 2 weeks later, he received a single page in response. Typed, clean. One sentence, these individuals were not assigned permanent identity. That's not a medical term. That's not a clerical error. That's a decision. Paranormal teams have explored Manteno's remaining structures for years. They talk about cold spots, unexplained movement, equipment malfunctions, standard ghost story fare. But then there are the recordings. One group, filming in the old laundry building in 2013, captured audio of a woman whispering a name, over and over. The name didn't match anyone on their team. When they played the footage back, the name had changed. Same syllables, same rhythm. But now, it was the last name of the cameraman. He quit the project the next day, said he kept hearing it in his sleep. And when they reviewed footage from other nights, they heard the same voice, always whispering a name, always the last name of someone present, never twice the same, never before they entered the building. There's a file room in the North Annex. Collapsed ceiling, rotting cabinets, but one drawer, bottom left, is always closed. Locals say if you force it open, there's only one file inside. No folder, just a yellowing page with a name. And the name is yours. It's become an urban legend, a dare. But the city has padlocked the building after someone was found inside, curled in the corner, non-verbal, with ink-stained hands and the same name written over and over on the walls. The only problem? It wasn't his handwriting, and the ink didn't match anything found on site. Former employees talk when they're drunk or dying. One nurse said she worked on a floor that never showed up in payroll. No clocks, no visitors, just patients that didn't speak, but stared whenever you said your own name. She said one patient smiled when she introduced herself, not because he understood, but because, according to him, that was his name too. She never went back. A strange pattern shows up in records from 1952. 10 patients discharged in the same week. All women, all listed as transferred. But the destination line is blank. When cross-referenced with census data, those names don't appear again. Not in deaths, not in marriages, not in taxes. Gone. Except one of them wrote a letter, postmarked from Manteno's zip code. 6 months after she was transferred, it was addressed to no one, just an envelope mailed to a Chicago P.O. box that no longer exists. The letter read, "They gave me a name that doesn't fit, so I took one that did. Now it whispers back, and it fits too well." The Manteno State Hospital campus is mostly torn down, converted into housing, offices, storage lots. But locals say the tunnels are still there, bricked up, boarded, breathing. One contractor refused to finish a renovation job on the east wing. He said every morning, the nameplate outside the front office changed. Same style, same metal, but different names, and always one letter away from his. He smashed the plate on day 6, and the next morning, it was blank. Just one deep scratch across the surface, shaped like a mouth. Most abandoned hospitals feel dead. This one doesn't. It feels like something is still cataloging, still assigning, still waiting for you to introduce yourself. And once you do, it answers. Not with a sound, not with a shadow, with a name, yours, rearranged. Because some places don't forget the people they buried. They just rename them. And in Manteno, some names weren't written down because they were already yours. Some buildings take your name, but others give something back. A sound, a pulse, a sermon played in reverse, waiting in a church that's been locked for 30 years, but still echoes at midnight. The Reverse Church of Cairo, where the sermons go backward. Some buildings go quiet when they're abandoned. This one got louder. At the southern tip of Illinois, where the Mississippi and Ohio rivers meet, sits the dying town of Cairo. Once a thriving trade port, now a place of silence, boarded windows and roads that go nowhere. And just outside the town limits, off a dirt path swallowed by weeds, there's a church, small, wooden, peeling white paint. No steeple, no cross, no sign. Just a door that always seems slightly ajar, even when no one's been there for years. Locals call it the Reverse Church, not because of how it looks, but because of what it plays. They say that every Thursday night, just after midnight, you can hear singing from inside. Not loud, not joyous. A low, slow harmony, like a hymn being played backward on broken vinyl. And sometimes under the music, you can hear your own name. In 1998, 2 teens tried to record the sound for a school project. They set up mics outside, left a tape deck running in the grass. What they captured didn't make sense. The music was there, clear but wrong, like the notes were melting in reverse. But halfway through the tape, a voice broke through. It wasn't either of them. It said one of their names. Then, the name of his mother. Then the name of a street he'd never told anyone he lived on. They never returned. The church has no electric connection. The floor is warped. The pews are broken, but the pulpit stands, intact, polished, like someone still uses it. One paranormal team spent the night inside in 2012. They set up EMF meters, cameras, temperature sensors. Nothing happened. Until 12:11 a.m., every camera failed at the same moment. The air went still. And then, according to the one recorder that kept running, a voice came from the pulpit. He is listening, but only in reverse. Each member of the team had dreams that week. Same setting, same sound. A man behind the pulpit, mouth moving backwards, eyes closed. But the voice wasn't coming from him. It was coming from the pews. The oldest locals won't talk about the church. They won't even point to it. But one woman in her 90s once said, "It was never built, it just started being there." There's no construction record, no deed, but aerial photos show the structure appearing sometime between 1929 and 1931. Before that, just trees. One theory says it was used for ritual sermons, services read in reverse to ward off something older than sin. Another says the church isn't haunted. It's repeating, like a scratched prayer stuck in a loop. And when the music plays, it's not summoning anything. It's warning you that something has already been summoned. In 2005, a drifter was found outside the church steps, unresponsive, alive, but with his tongue split down the middle. When he finally spoke weeks later, he said only one thing. The sermon went backwards, but the message was forward. Then he died. The strange part isn't just the sound. It's what people report feeling when they hear it. Not fear, not even dread. Recognition, like they've heard it before, as children, in dreams, or just behind the static on a dead radio station. One man walked into the church at midnight. He left at 12:08 a.m., 8 minutes, but when his phone synced later, it said he'd missed 4 hours of time. His call log showed he'd dialed a number at 2:41 a.m., but he has no memory of it. The number, a disconnected line once registered to a seminary student who went missing in 1974. That student's name, same as the man who called, first and last. The doors of the church won't lock, people have tried. Nails, chains, padlocks, they all rot or disappear, because maybe it was never meant to keep anything out. Maybe it was built to let something in. And once a week it plays the same song, just not the way you expect. Some say if you listen to it backward enough times, you hear a full name, yours, and a place. Not where you are, where you're going. Some sermons ask for faith. This one asks for silence. Because after a while, you realize the singing isn't getting louder. You're just getting closer. Some buildings echo the past. But in Illinois, there are places that echo your future. And you don't always want to hear what's coming next. Because sometimes, what waits on the water doesn't want your voice, just your reflection. Lake Renwick, the girl who floated backwards. Some bodies stay missing, others come back with questions. Lake Renwick looks calm, artificial, man-made, the kind of place that hosts fishing contests and casual walks at sunset. But when the water goes still, too still, locals remember what happened there, not because of how she vanished, but because of how she returned. Her name was Kelsey, 16 years old. Last seen near the Western Bank in early October 2006. She'd taken her bike out before dark. Helmet, flashlight, sweatshirt. Routine, she never came home. The search began within hours. Dogs, drones, divers. Nothing. No scent, no tire marks, no splash. Just her bike, laid gently on its side by the water's edge, still upright, as if paused mid-ride. 3 days later, her body surfaced. Face up, but floating backwards. Arms stiff at her sides. Toes pointed up, like someone had posed her. Her lungs were full of water, but there were no bruises, no injuries, no signs of panic. And here's what disturbed the divers the most. Her skin was warm, not freshly dead, impossibly fresh, as if she'd only been submerged for minutes. The coroner couldn't explain it. Time of death couldn't be confirmed. Temperature mismatch. Cellular decay slower than it should have been. The case was quietly closed, listed as accidental drowning. But some people don't believe she drowned. They believe she was returned. In the years since, the lake has seen its share of oddities. Birdwatchers report hearing splashing when the water's perfectly still. Campers near the West Bank say their clocks freeze for minutes at a time, then jump forward all at once. A night fisherman once swore he saw a girl walking across the water, not running, not sinking, walking, but backwards, and when he turned on his spotlight, there was nothing, just ripples circling inward. In 2014, a high school student set up a GoPro overnight to try and capture a meteor shower reflected in the lake. Instead, he got footage of fog rising from the surface, fast, heavy. Then the camera glitched. For 3 seconds, it captured a silhouette, thin, head tilted, standing just inches above the water, but casting no reflection. When the student uploaded it online, the video corrupted on every platform. Only the thumbnail remained. It showed a stretch of black water, and something beneath it, pale, looking up. There's a small stone jetty near the center of the lake. Locals call it the spine, too narrow to walk without losing balance. But every few years, someone does. They say they hear music at the end, a low hum like a lullaby with no melody. One woman followed the sound during a foggy morning. She said it got louder the closer she got. Not in volume, but in pressure, like the sound was pushing against her chest. She turned back halfway. Later, she realized something strange. Her phone, which she'd used for photos, had only taken one image, the water, but the image was reversed. Text on her jacket flipped. The reflection of her head turned away, even though she was facing the lake. She hadn't edited it. She hadn't uploaded it. But the photo was dated 3 days before her visit. The same number of days Kelsey was missing. There's a legend that says the lake remembers who steps too close. Not all the time, only under the right light. When the water doesn't reflect you anymore, they say it doesn't want to pull you in, it wants to make a copy, and sometimes when that copy doesn't work, it sends it back. But not quite the same. Wrong posture, wrong eyes, wrong time. One boy claimed to see Kelsey's face in the lake, smiling, but not at him, at herself. The image flickered when he blinked. When he looked again, it was gone. But his own reflection had shifted, arms crossed, mouth closed, and both eyes open, even though he only has sight in one. People still visit the lake. They still fish, still picnic, still swim, but some say the West Bank feels colder. Not the water, the air, as if something is waiting there, just beneath the surface. Not hunting, not haunting, just watching, waiting for the next person to lean too close. So it can send something back, because sometimes the lake doesn't keep what it takes, it just rewinds it. Some things surface, but others echo through cement, static and silence between towers too empty to be abandoned. The silos of East St. Louis, static between the concrete. Some places fall apart, others stay standing just long enough to be forgotten the right way. In East St. Louis, down a fenced stretch of industrial road where the grass grows in broken lines and the sky always feels one shade too dim, 6 silos still rise, tall, grey and hollow, built in the early 1900s, abandoned since the 70s. Nobody tears them down, nobody fixes them, they just remain. And the people who live nearby say the silos don't stay quiet. They talk, in static. It started in the 1990s, after a group of teenagers used the site to film a home music video. They brought a boombox, a camcorder, and nothing but time. They never finished the tape, because during filming, their radio picked up a sound they didn't recognize. Not music, not voices, just a pulse, low, in rhythm, underneath the frequency. When they played the tape back later, something else had been recorded beneath their voices, a distorted repetition, words so warped they sounded like they were coming from underwater, but slowed down, it formed a sentence. I'm still underneath. None of them went back. In 2003, a homeless man who sometimes slept near the silos turned up at a shelter. He hadn't spoken in 2 days. When he finally did, he said, "The walls were humming. I could feel it in my teeth." Then he collapsed. Doctors found no drugs, no injuries, just unusual nerve activity in his jaw, like he'd been exposed to low-frequency vibration for hours. But there's no known power source near the silos, no station, no tower, no wiring. People who drive past the site with radios on sometimes hear interference, but not the usual kind. The static comes in waves, smooth, patterned, and sometimes you hear your name, not yelled, not spoken, whispered, buried. One driver swore the static only started when she thought about her sister, who died 3 years earlier. The voice that came through didn't sound like hers, but it said something her sister used to say, word for word. Investigators and paranormal teams have tried to record the sound. Some leave with nothing, some leave shaken. One researcher claimed she heard her own voice played back through the static before she spoke, as if something knew what she was going to say, and repeated it in reverse. She abandoned the project, said she couldn't tell if she was echoing or being echoed. Inside the silos, the echo behaves strangely. You can shout, but the sound doesn't bounce back the way it should. It goes down, and if you stand still long enough, you start to feel the reverb behind your chest. Not in it, behind it, like something's matching your frequency. Photographers report strange glitches, cameras that distort even on film. Subjects appear blurred or replaced by shapes that resemble the human body, but stretched, faded, misaligned. One frame showed a figure standing just outside the silo. The same shape appeared again on a photo taken minutes later, only this time it was behind the person holding the camera. That photographer no longer shares his work. One of the silos has a rusted ladder leading down into a lower chamber. Nobody knows what it was used for. The city won't send workers inside. They say the foundation's unstable, but a man in 2011 claimed he descended anyway. He said the air got denser the lower he went, and when he reached the bottom, it was so quiet, he could hear his heartbeat, but not feel it. He described it like standing in a mouth with no tongue. Then came the sound, not from around him, from inside, like a memory trying to escape through his teeth. He made it out. But 2 weeks later, he stopped speaking altogether, started writing notes with missing words. Letters reversed, sentences out of order. He died a year later in a hospice bed. His last written message, still down, still repeating, still me. The city plans to fence off the site for good, but every time they do, the locks corrode. Cameras fail. Permits expire. It's almost like the silos want to be left alone, or worse, they want someone else to come inside, because whatever's humming through that concrete isn't trying to be heard, it's trying to be matched. And when it finds the right frequency, it doesn't broadcast, it enters. Some buildings rot, but others record, and what they capture doesn't always play back the same way, especially not underground, especially not in tunnels built for cargo that never arrived. The glass tunnel under Chicago, the door that doesn't lock. Some tunnels lead somewhere. This one leads back, but not to where you started. Beneath Chicago's concrete veins, beyond the visible subway maps and sealed freight lines, there's a tunnel that isn't supposed to exist. No station, no platform, no lights. Just glass. Perfect, unmarked glass, stretched like a hallway through memory. They call it the glass tunnel, but no city record confirms it. No construction blueprint marks its location. And yet, people find it. Always by accident, always at night, always alone. The first known story came from a sanitation worker in 1978. He was repairing a steam valve under the loop when he noticed a side corridor, dry, cleaner than anything else down there. He followed it, thinking it was a forgotten utility shaft. What he found was a door made entirely of glass. No frame, no handle, just there, closed but not locked. He stepped through. According to his report, the light changed instantly. It wasn't electric, it wasn't natural, just pale. He walked for what he thought was 15 minutes. No turns, no sound. His footsteps didn't echo. Then the tunnel bent, not physically but in time. His watch read 4:12 a.m. When he emerged, it was 9:36. He was 7 blocks away from where he'd entered. No one believed him, but his tools were found exactly where he said he'd left them, just outside the glass. Since then, stories repeat. Always the same tunnel, always the same glass, always the same question. Where were you when the echo stopped? One urban explorer entered the tunnel in 2004. He never made it back, but his handheld camera did. It was found at a red line station 3 days later, on a bench no one remembered seeing it on. The footage shows a long corridor of shimmering walls, and a voice, faint at first, repeating a phrase every 7 seconds. You said the wrong word. The explorer never speaks, but he begins to mouth something silently, until the video glitches. For one frame, less than a second, his reflection moves before he does. Then it ends. There's no confirmed way to find the tunnel. Some say you have to listen for a hum beneath the usual city noise. Others say it finds you when you're thinking about something you shouldn't, something buried, something unfinished. One CTA employee claimed he saw the door in a utility panel near the Jackson stop. He blinked and it was gone, but his radio played a loop of static for 9 minutes, and when it stopped, a voice whispered the employee's full name, followed by a birth date that wasn't his. It was his son's, still unborn. The strangest part isn't the tunnel. It's what's behind the glass, because it changes. Some say they see fog, others see rooms they recognize. One man swears he saw himself, sitting at a table he didn't own, in a house he'd never lived in. And then the lights flickered, and the reflection blinked. But he hadn't. One survivor claimed the tunnel doesn't take you anywhere. It just stretches something in you, until part of you doesn't come back. She said her shadow stopped following her a week later. Not in daylight, not in photos, just gone. And every mirror since shows her blinking just half a second too late, as if she's catching up. When asked how to avoid the tunnel, a retired maintenance foreman only said, "Don't read anything out loud down there, especially not your name." Some believe the tunnel is a leftover experiment, Cold War era sensory research. Others think it was never built, that it's a spatial echo born from all the forgotten movement under Chicago. Whatever it is, it doesn't lock, it doesn't keep you out. But once you enter, you don't get to choose what leaves. Maybe your time, maybe your reflection, maybe something you won't notice until someone else does. Something in your voice, your walk, your face when you say your name, and it doesn't sound like yours anymore. Some passages seal behind you, but others stay open, and the thing that walks out might not be the one that walked in. Some tunnels echo forward, others twist back, into stalks of corn that lean the wrong direction, where something still walks wearing your face. The reflection in the corn, a face that wasn't yours. Some fields grow silence, others grow something else. In McLean County, central Illinois, the cornfields run long, flat land with no breaks, no curves, no sounds but the wind. At dusk, the horizon folds into itself, and for a few strange minutes, there are no shadows. Locals say that's when the corn looks back, not with eyes, with your face, but not the one you see in the mirror, the one you've forgotten, or never meant to see. It started with a boy in 2001, 7 years old. playing near the edges of the field while his parents packed up a roadside stand. He wandered too far, 30 feet in, gone. No sound, no call, just the soft hush of stalks shifting against each other. Search teams found nothing. No prints, no drag marks, no scent trail, until 3 days later, when he walked out. Same clothes, no bruises, no sunburn, and no memory. Just one strange thing. He was humming a song his parents swore they'd never taught him, a lullaby in reverse. Years passed. The field grew back. Harvest came and went. But something changed. One farmer reported hearing laughter near the edge of the crops, his son playing with the dog. But when he called out the boy's name, both the voice and the dog stopped instantly, like they'd been cut from tape. He walked into the field, 30 feet, 50. Then he saw it. A figure, same height as his son, facing him, but not standing, floating, barely, a half-inch off the soil. And the face, it was his son, but wrong, still, too still, as if it hadn't learned to move yet. He ran. When he got back, his son was home, had never left. But that night, the farmer's wife took a photo of them at dinner, and in the background, just outside the window, the same face, pressed against the glass, smiling. People say the field only reflects those who enter alone, and only if they're not sure why they came. One teenager brought a mirror inside, trying to film a viral challenge. He set it up in a small clearing midday. He turned the camera toward himself, then toward the mirror, and paused. The mirror didn't show him. It showed someone wearing his clothes, standing at the same angle, but staring directly into the lens. When he looked back in real time, the clearing was empty, but the mirror was cracked, and the video file was corrupted except the last frame. A face, his face, mouth closed, but with teeth showing beneath the skin. There are rumors of an old well at the center of the corn, dried out, bricked over. People say if you speak into it after sundown, the echo doesn't match your voice. It comes back slower, softer, a little off. And if you wait, you hear it speak first next time. Farmhands report losing track of direction. Compasses spin. Phones die. And always there's the sense of being watched. But not from behind, from ahead. Like something is standing exactly where you were going to step, already shaped like you, already waiting. And when the wind moves just right, the corn parts, but doesn't fall. It leans away from you, like something's coming up behind you, something bigger, quieter, carrying your name, but with a different meaning. In 2020, a woman walking her dog near the road bordering the field stopped to take a photo of the sunset. Later, while reviewing the image, she saw it, a second silhouette beside her. No face, just shape, faint, distorted. The part that disturbed her, it wore the same jacket she was wearing, same hood, same torn sleeve, but her reflection in the window hadn't changed. She turned around. No one was there. She deleted the photo. 2 days later, her phone re-downloaded it. No metadata, no file name, just a black thumbnail. When she opened it, it wasn't an image. It was a video, 4 seconds long. The first 3 seconds, the sound of corn brushing softly in the wind. The 4th second, her voice out of breath, whispering, "Not me. Nobody farms that plot anymore. It's too hard to sell, too hard to mow, but the corn grows anyway, every year, without seed, without fail." And every so often, someone walking by sees their reflection in the car window, smiling when they're not. Because some faces aren't memories, they're invitations. Some reflections aren't reversed, they're rehearsed, waiting to become real. Because Illinois doesn't lose people. Tide copies them, and it sends them back just a little bit wrong. So next time you see yourself somewhere you shouldn't be, don't wave. It might wave back, but not because it knows you, because it's trying to learn. Some mysteries vanish, some follow, but the ones that stay with you are the ones that wear your voice, your walk, your face, and wait in places too still to be empty. Illinois doesn't forget, it reflects. And if you've watched this far, maybe now, it reflects you. Which of these stories stayed with you the longest? And which state do you want to explore next? Because the next place might already be listening.